The price cap on Russian oil is coming, and there's a very good chance it will backfire. And I'm not just talking about the G7 planet suffering, I'm talking about the entire world in pain because oil prices could very well fly to the moon very soon. So the West is trying to rush out the oil price cap by December the 5th. Remember, guys, that's the magical date. And the end goal is very simple: force Russia to sell their oil at lower prices to reduce their revenues to put an end to the Ukraine war. Now, if Russia can't earn enough money, they can't keep the battle going, and it sounds very straightforward. But the problem now is that Putin is fighting back. He has basically taken a spanner and thrown it into the gears of the price cap plan. And according to a report from Bloomberg, the Kremlin is drafting a presidential decree that's going to ban Russian companies from dealing with buyers who participate in a price cap. And this includes traders who are buying Russian oil and reselling it to another country that is part of the buyer's cartel. So if you're a trading company and you buy Russian oil at a price cap, you can't just turn around and sell it to Germany because Germany is part of the G7. So this is a very interesting development which tells us that Putin is trying to flip the script on the West with quite a few tricks of his own. And the big problem with this plan is how it could make the energy crisis even worse as winter approaches. Now, if traders they can't buy oil from Russia and resell it to Europe at a higher price, this will just make the situation worse. Now you have constricted supply even more. The global oil price is going to rise and Europe is going to pay the most. We're going to see oil get diverted away from other countries and regions to supply to Europe to take advantage of this price gap. Now, the Kremlin has come out saying, "We stand by Putin's position that we will not supply oil and gas to the countries which would set and join the price cap." So it's not a surprise that Russia could very well launch this decree to try and flip the G7 on its head. Now, things are going to get very hairy, guys. And if you think the crash is over and that we have reached peak inflation, Putin might just have a nasty surprise for the world. Now, the problem with throwing a price cap around is like opening Pandora's box. You might just unleash the Russian Kraken. Like what Forrest Gump said, life is a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. And it seems the G7 planners already have problems setting the oil price cap. There have been reports that they are looking to cap Russian oil between $65 to $70 a barrel, but that is not low enough. We can see the price cap levels are actually higher than the price of Russian crude. Russia is actually selling oil below the price cap, with crude from the Urals nearing $50 already. And this means the price cap would have very limited to no effect on Russian revenues. Now the EU, they understand this, but they're still very hesitant to set it lower because they need Russian oil to keep flowing to the global markets, right? Even if they can't buy it directly from Putin, they can at least buy it from a reseller. Now the G7 countries, they've really boxed themselves into a corner. Their price cap is currently meaningless at current levels, but if they set it too low, Putin will simply pull the supply of Russian oil and global prices will soar. We can really see how the lack of Russian energy is affecting the Eurozone. Now, Hungary's electricity price has largely stayed flat and even dropped while the rest of the EU is suffering. They are the only EU members still buying Russian gas, and their energy prices reflect that. However, the rest of Europe is paying almost double for their electricity, with Italy paying 3 times the price. And this is the big reason why there's so much fear about further reduction of Russian energy in the markets, right? Inflation in the Eurozone is breaking new records, hitting 10.7% in October, but the devil is in the details. The bulk of the inflation story comes from energy hitting a 42% increase, which is totally crazy. And this is why the price cap will likely fail, because Russia still has outlets to sell its oil to, and the EU can't afford to set an aggressive enough price cap to hurt Russian revenues without taking themselves down as well. Now, this decree by Putin is an escalation and a retaliation. He's basically calling out the West, reminding them that they need his oil and gas. Now, this is an all-in casino move, it's a show hand, because banning direct sales to G7 is one thing, but if Russia bans traders from reselling Russian oil, this is going to strangle supplies to Europe even further. So Europe now only has two choices left in this price cap plan. They can either set the price cap high so Russia has no excuse to restrict supply, or they can set it low enough and trigger a further energy war that could see this energy crisis just spiral out of control. We have Zelensky and Poland demanding that the price cap should be set at $30. But if the G7 does that, they can kiss goodbye to Russian energy. Russia will still sell their oil to China, India, and Turkey. In fact, according to the decree, they could supply oil to Asia at price cap levels on the condition that they don't resell it to Europe. In that case, Putin would still protect his revenues while hurting the West with higher inflation. And there are reports that Indian refiners are already getting Russian oil below the price cap levels with discounts as much as $35, and they are stocking up on Russian crude before this price cap hits. And this is why we said in a previous video that a new oil order is coming and cheap energy is over. The world is getting split into two factions, and it's the West versus the East. But here's the big problem with the price cap and Putin's retaliation plan. I believe the West won't abandon the price caps, but they will set it high at maybe $60 to $70. It will likely be just a symbolic plan that shows the world they are doing something without triggering Russia to pull their energy supply from the world. But what if they don't? What if the price cap gets set at $50 or even $40, right? If Putin goes through with his decree, we could see a substantial decrease in oil supply to the market. Now, the Russian minister Alexander Novak mentioned how they will simply redirect oil supply to market-oriented partners or just reduce production. And if inflation soars, we will see central banks all over the world tighten even further. The Fed will raise rates, the ECB will hike as well, and we're going to plunge the world economy into a deeper recession. Remember that OPEC isn't playing ball anymore, and they won't simply increase their oil production to save the world. Another wildcard is China, which could emerge from their lockdowns in 2023, causing another spike in energy demand, driving prices even higher. And that's why this energy crisis is far from over. Remember, central banks can only control the demand side of the equation. Putin is in full control of the supply. So the only way to reduce inflation in this case is to turn up demand destruction and make sure people just don't have enough money to spend on energy. Now that is one strategy for sure, but considering how fragile the economy is, it might be enough to push it into life support. Right now, markets are pricing in the Federal Reserve slowing down their rate hikes or even taking a pause, not a full pivot, but just taking a chill pill. But if inflation skyrockets again, thanks to the energy crisis, people's budgets are going to get squeezed. Companies will face a crazier earnings recession, and a full recession, will be virtually guaranteed in 2023. So we need to watch what happens on December the 5th. If the G7 decides to go full price cap and slaps on an aggressive level, we're going to see Putin retaliate. Is he going to just ban everyone from reselling oil to the West? Maybe, I don't know guys. But he's not going to play along with the G7 group and slash his revenues without a fine. And this is going to be bad news for you and me. We're going to see inflation spike up, rates are going to rise even more, and the Federal Reserve has no choice but to crush demand. And this is my biggest fear, guys, which is stagflation. Because all I'm seeing is a constant stream of escalation from both sides. It's constant brinksmanship, which is honestly very tiring and flipping the economy on its head. I really think time is running out, and sooner or later a big economic crash will happen if someone in power does something stupid. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Will the West back down from the oil price cap, or will Putin go all the way and cut energy supply even further? Let me know in the comments below. Stay safe, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe as we navigate through these crazy times.